Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our 6 a.m. series. What is a raindrop anyway? So this is session 2 of our series, and if you remember from our first session, we talked about how a raindrop, some of the benefits of it include things like emotional release and spinal health. And today we're really going to look at those things a little more in depth. So, especially, I'm really going to focus on spinal health this morning. So when administering the raindrop technique, the oils used are neat or undiluted. So when you're in oil lingo, if you hear the word neat, that just means that the oils are undiluted. They're used straight. And this is actually consistent with the French model of aromatherapy, which is the most extensively practiced and studied model in the world, which is pretty interesting. The French have been using essential oils clinically for over 40 years and have consistently recommended using essential oils undiluted. So there you go. If you do any kind of research or talk to a lot of people, there will be a lot of recommendations that you never use essential oils neat or undiluted. And that's just a different school of thought. There are different models of aromatherapy, and as to the best of my knowledge, the French model is the one that really recommends using oils undiluted for full benefits, whereas a lot of the other, like I want to say the German model, recommends dilution, and like I said, it's just different. So using or during a raindrop technique, the use of certain undiluted essential oils typically causes minor reddening and heat in the tissues. I can personally attest to that. When I had my raindrop, things did get a little toasty on my back, and that is perfectly normal and shouldn't be a cause for concern. If the heat becomes excessive, the facilitator, so the person administering the raindrop technique, can apply several drops of pure quality vegetable oil, like the V6 carrier oil, to the area, which will dilute the oils and the warming effect. I can also personally attest that that works perfectly fine, and it does not take long for that heat to dissipate. So if you're getting a raindrop for the first time, don't be surprised if things get a little toasty. That is perfectly normal. Typically, the warming experienced is less than what you would experience with many sports creams. So yes, it does get a little toasty, but it's supposed to, and of course, heat helps our muscles relax. So it actually feels really nice. There is a growing amount of scientific research that shows that certain microorganisms lodge near the spine, near the spinal cord, and contribute to deformities, spinal deformities. In fact, I'm going to quote you a paragraph from my Raindrop Technique book. So this says, research in 2001 further corroborated the existence of infectious microorganisms as a cause of spine pain and inflammation. Alistair Sterling and his colleagues at the Royal Orthopaedic Hospital in Birmingham, England, found that 53% of patients with severe sciatica tested positive for chronic low-grade infection by gram-negative bacteria. 53% had bacteria which triggered inflammation near the spine. Sterling suggested that the reason these bacteria had not been identified earlier was because of the extended time required to incubate disc material, so 7 days. I'm not sure if you're familiar with microbiology or not, but 7 days is a really long incubation time. A lot of microorganisms do not take that long to grow. So if your lab is not set up to hold plates that long, they would, after however many days their protocol calls for, call no growth and therefore no infection. Whereas this one went longer, and sure enough, something turned up. So I think that's really significant that, 53% of patients with this severe sciatica showed gram-negative bacteria as causing the inflammation. That's pretty crazy. So, yeah, is it any wonder that people have back problems? I know personally that the virus that causes chickenpox and shingles, it's the same virus. So what it does is, excuse me, when you get the chickenpox, say as a child, your body takes care of it, so you survive, and it forms an immunity, but the virus continues to live a lot of times in your spine, in your nerves, and then later when your immune system is compromised, it comes out along those nerve paths, and that's what we call shingles. So to me, with my experience, it's not surprising that we have bacteria that lodge in that spinal column and that can cause problems. So yeah, pretty crazy. But there have also been numerous scientific studies showing the effectiveness of essential oils in inhibiting microbial growth. So bacteria along the spine cause problems, and essential oils can inhibit microbial growth. That's interesting. So due to the extremely small molecular size of essential oils, they actually penetrate the skin very, very quickly and pass into the body tissues to produce their therapeutic effects. In fact, the molecules of essential oils are so small, they can actually cross the cell membrane and get directly into the cells with no problem, because you figure that's what happens in the plant. These oils are circulating, bringing oxygen and removing waste from on a cellular level from the cells themselves. So that is what they do in our bodies as well, which is pretty cool. So Raindrop Technique is actually one of the safest, non-invasive techniques available for spinal health. It is also an invaluable tool to promote healing from sorry, sometimes my handwriting is a little anyway, from within. Okay. Sorry. All right, let's try that again. So Raindrop Technique is one of the safest non-invasive techniques available for spinal health. It is also an invaluable tool to promote healing from within using topically applied essential oils. Pretty cool. So I'm actually going to go ahead and tell you my raindrop story this morning. So last year, my friend Missy came to visit, and she taught me how to administer a raindrop to my family, which is awesome. And it wasn't too long after that I needed to use it. So my daughter got this weird thing where, excuse me, her fever, she had a fever, and it would spike really, really high in the evenings. Really high. And then she would wake up the next morning and it was gone. So we thought that she was fine. You know, it had just had a weird spike that night, and then the next morning she's perfectly normal. She's running around, her temperature's fine. And then evening rolled around again and it spiked again. So, you know, we did all the things. We made sure her nutrition was right. We increased her vitamin C. We cut out the sugar. We were diffusing the oils I like to diffuse, peppermint and thieves. We were using tons of peppermint on her because it's very cooling. We were doing the cool baths, all the things, and it just kept cycling. And it was funny. I remember my mom, she was asking me, she's like, "What, don't you want to take her to the doctor just for peace of mind?" And I looked at her, I'm like, "Whose peace of mind?" Or is the doctor, because my mom is a retired nurse, I'm like, is the doctor going to do anything for her that I am not already doing? She looked at me point blank and said, "No." I'm like, okay. So we were doing everything that the doctor would have done for her. And when I looked at, after several days of this, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to give her a raindrop and see what that does. And it was so cool because I remember after the raindrop, for a couple more days, I think she continued to have a fever in the evenings, but nothing like it had been before. I mean, it was much mild. I mean, we didn't even have to continue the cool baths. It was amazing. Amazing. That cycle that she had been going through, whatever was causing it, finally broke, which was such a godsend. Such a godsend. And then later on, we were traveling quite a bit at that point in time. So it was crazy. So we would get sick, the whole whatever would run its course through the family. We would heal up. We would travel. We would come home. We'd get sick. We'd heal up. We'd travel. And I mean, it just cycled. And finally, I'm like, I am sick of this. So I looked at my husband and I said, every single one of us is getting a raindrop today. Because I am tired of us, this cycle of sick, healthy, travel, sick, healthy, travel, sick, healthy, travel. So I gave the kids raindrops. I gave my husband a raindrop, and I talked him through giving me my raindrop, and because he had never given one before, so that was interesting. And so all four of us got raindrops, and that finally broke that sick, healthy cycle, And our traveling after that wasn't plagued by sickness, which was amazing. So these oils and this technique can be very powerful tools for your health. So that is one of the reasons why I am sharing about Raindrop in this series, because it has been a blessing to our family, and I believe it could be a blessing to yours as well. God's tools are beautiful. So thank you so much for joining me this morning, and we will continue to look at Raindrop Technique in the following weeks. We'll look at the oils, the order you put them in, and the things that they can do. We may also look a little bit at emotional release, because Raindrop can bring about an emotional release also. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you guys next week. Have a good one, guys. Bye.